The General Dynamics F-16 is widely regarded as one of the most capable multi-role air combat aircraft of the 20th century, featuring fly-by-wire controls and negative stability, making it ridiculously maneuverable and able to pull maneuvers that most human beings can't withstand. It remains one of the top fighter aircraft in the world, but it's not my favorite. The FA-18 Hornet is an incredible aircraft featuring state-of-the-art electronics that enable it to operate both as a state-of-the-art fighter and state-of-the-art attack aircraft. It was designed as a single solution to roles that were previously fulfilled by multiple aircraft in the US Navy. It can operate from land or sea, it is supersonic, and it is about to become even more famous thanks to the new Top Gun movie. But it's not my favorite. The reason neither of those two aircraft are my favorite is because neither of them can do this. This is the AV8B Harrier. FrugalSim videos are powered by Jetline Systems. Hello YouTube, this is Frugal and this is my favorite DCS aircraft of all time, Razban's AV8B Harrier Night Attack, or Harrier 2NA depending on how you want to pronounce it. This thing is without doubt my favorite. There's nothing that comes even close to this because I'm a huge fan of the F-16 in the real world, and I'm a big fan as well of the F-18, but nothing comes close to the feeling of sheer satisfaction when you master what it is to fly the Harrier. It is phenomenal. I haven't even done very many combat missions in this. I've just been learning for the past few months how to fly it and how to manage it and how to do things like transition to hover and from a hover, and vertical takeoffs and short takeoffs and vertical landings and all that nonsense. It is absolutely sublime. I love this aircraft. It's also, in my opinion, got one of the most amazing feeling, I dare say, realistic, but not having flown a Harrier, who knows? But it feels like one of the most realistic and silky smooth flight models of all the aircraft in DCS world. I adore this plane. Let me jump into cockpit. I am of course using track IR, which is why it's going to be a little bit bouncy while we look around. What I wanted to do here was just give you a brief first impressions. I am in no way a master of this aircraft. I have had it for some months and I've been taking my sweet time just learning how to manage it and how to work with it and just getting very comfortable with it. I am waiting with bated breath for the first campaign, and I say that because this is early access. As with many things in the world of DCS, it's an early access aircraft. It's not completely finished, and part of the unfinished is that it has no campaign yet, but Razban, I understand, are working on one, and there is a Falkland Islands campaign coming as well. For my people back home in Blighty, the Harrier rose to fame in its first major televised operational mission set, which would be in the Falkland Islands, defending those against invasion from Argentina. It is still an active aircraft, both in the British Navy, Royal Navy, sorry, and in the US Marines. And this particular variant is obviously the US Marines variant of the Harrier, as opposed to the Sea Harrier that we have in Great Britain. Let me show you around a little bit. Let me unpause track IR. So it's got a ton of sensors. The key differentiator with the Night Attack is it has a forward-looking infrared system. This is an all-weather night or day attack aircraft that can also pull double duty as a fighter if it absolutely needs to, but it's really an attack aircraft. Think of this as an A-10 on steroids. Think of it that way. It is also, because of that vertical takeoff and vertical landing capability, a uniquely unique aircraft. I can't think of a better way of saying that, in that it can actually be deployed with frontline troops. It doesn't really require a runway to operate. The downside of that, and the downside of the aircraft as a whole, is it doesn't carry a whole lot of fuel. So if you're doing the vertical takeoff thing, you actually need to take off under weight, and once you load up all the weapons and stores and stuff like that, it is a fat beastie and doesn't want to take off vertically. So typically they underload them with fuel, and then immediately after takeoff you need to meet up with a tanker, refuel, and then go about your mission. Which means, in terms of learning how to master this aircraft, you also need to master things like air-to-air refueling, which is a nightmare, but I love it to bits. Let me show you how we figure out on vertical takeoff. We're not going to do vertical takeoff today because we do have weapons on board. If I click on menu down here and then click on VRest and then go for vertical takeoff, sorry, short takeoff, you can see, no, vertical takeoff was the one. You can see here we're currently gross weight. I don't know if I can zoom in. Let me grab my stick of joy. There. We're currently 25,356 pounds, which is too heavy to do a vertical takeoff. We would need to be under 20,000 to do vertical, so we're not going to do a vertical takeoff, but we can do a short takeoff. And by going to the menu VRest and STO page, we can see that our nozzle rotation speed is going to be 60 knots. Nozzle rotation airspeed is going to be 94 knots. We're going to be doing a wet takeoff. I'll explain what that means in a minute. And our nozzle is going to be at 60%. I'll go through what that means in a minute. Over here on the left hand side, we can feed all that information in. So if I put this into, so I'm looking down at my controls here. If I put this into short takeoff and landing mode, like that, you'll see it showing you a 10N. Hopefully this recording is picking up my mouse, but there's a 10N there, which is the nozzles. So for takeoff, we're actually going to be at 60, which is degrees. And what we have down here on the throttle quadrant is this, which is called the stow stopper, or short takeoff stopper here. It limits how far back you can pull the nozzles. That's the nozzles, that's the stopper. So if we put it there, we should find, if I yank the nozzles back, a little bit too less, that was 57 degrees. Let's try that again. Takes a little bit of trial and error to get that just right. There we go. 59 degrees. One more tiny kick there. 60 degrees. So what that stopper does is if I pull the nozzle lever on my controls all the way back to stop, it's actually going to stop at 60 degrees, which is precisely what we want. And what this information over here is telling me is that at 94 knots, it will actually come up over here once I key it all in, but at 94 knots, we're going to rotate the nozzles from 10 degrees. We typically keep them at 10, not 0. All the way back to stop, and we should lift off. It's called a short takeoff. Let me show you how that works in terms of keying that data in. So we're going to put it back over there. We have an NRAS over here, which is the nozzle rotation airspeed, and we will key in the number from the VRS page, which is 94, and press enter. And then we have PC, which is pitch carrots. If I click on that, it should be preset at 14 degrees, which it is, so we'll press enter. What that means is on the HUD up here, you can already see the pitch carrots at the top here. Those two triangles pointing at each other. Immediately after takeoff, we're going to raise the witch's hat here up to there, and then we'll be in the correct profile for climbing out, and we can gradually reduce the nozzles. The way that's going to work, let me pop outside. If I... oh, hang on, that's better. I need to turn my headphones down a bit. It's a very noisy beast. There's the nozzles there on the side of the aircraft. There's 4 of them, and if I pull them right the way back to 60 degrees there, what we're going to do is as the nose pitches up, we're going to bring those nozzles back up. Because you can imagine if the nose were to point more vertically right now, the nozzles would actually be pointing forwards, which isn't good. So what we're going to do is as we rotate the nose skywards, we're going to bring those nozzles back rearward so that we're kind of matching the rotation of the nose until we transition to forward flight. It sounds a lot more complex than it is. It's actually quite easy to do, as you'll see in a minute. Other than that, we have the usual array of things down here in terms of sensors and so forth. So we have a navigation system down here. We can navigate by waypoint, by waypoint, by waypoint. We can navigate by TACAN. What else have we got down here? We've got, you'll be familiar with this if you work with an A10. We've got a stores page. We can see all the weapon stores down here. DMT is our... I'm not sure what DMT stands for, but as you can clearly see, that's one of the forward-looking TV sensors. EHSD is navigation, and FLIR, obviously, forward-looking infrared, which is what makes this the night attack variant. We're going to put this back onto EHSD for now, and having dealt with all this information here, we're going to put this into a duplicate of the HUD, and the reason that we do that is so that if we get blinded a little bit by sunlight here, we can just look down here and see a copy of whatever's up on the HUD up here. Now the way this taxis is actually kind of cool. What we're going to do is we're going to put the flaps up into the cruise setting. I don't know if you can see the flap lever. There it is. There. We have 3 positions: auto, stall, short takeoff and landing, and cruise. We're going to taxi with them in the cruise position. And I did mention we're going to be doing a wet takeoff. That would be this switch right here, which is a water injection system. It basically enables us to go beyond the normal operational limits of the engine for a very brief amount of time. It will inject water to keep the engine cool. We are going to use that once we get onto the runway and are ready to go. We're going to flick that into the up or takeoff position, like so. You can already hear there the engine pitch changes a little bit. indicating that we've got water injection running. You can see how much water we've got over here. So we've got duct pressure, RPM, jet pipe temperature, and so on. And then here, H2O. This is the amount of number of pounds, 500 pounds of water on board to cool the engines. Hopefully we're not going to use any of that. If we do a good job on the takeoff, we won't actually need to use any of that. So I'm just going to set my stabilizer trim here at 2 degrees nose down, like so. And we're going to taxi out to runway 3 right, which is just over there. Not going to be using ATC or any of that nonsense. It is just a first impressions flight to kind of introduce you to this beautiful aircraft, just making sure everything is where it should be. By the way, you'll notice, looking at all these switches, it's quite a simple aircraft. There's not a whole lot of switches. Reason being, this is also designed to get up in the air very quickly. It can be used as an intercept aircraft if necessary, and obviously in its role operating from forward, from FARPs, forward, what do they call that? Forward, I can't remember what that's called, but anyway, operating from those forward bases without a runway, it is susceptible to being spotted and bombed. So it has the ability to get off the ground extremely quickly if it needs to. Now I'm not taxiing in any way legally, but we're just going to cross runway 3 left here. We'll head on out to runway 3 right, which is do a circuit or two, and show you what this thing is all about. I adore this aircraft. By the way, see this? It says cast here. Nose wheel is castering. If I hold down the nose wheel steering button, obviously I can steer with my rudder pedals. We also have another setting which is used on the carrier, which is nose wheel steering high, and basically lets this aircraft turn on itself. Really, it's got an incredibly narrow turning radius if you go onto nose wheel steering high or high gain setting. All right, here's runway 3 here. So at this point, what we're going to do is going to lower those flaps into the short takeoff and landing. You'll see it automatically goes down to 25 degrees of flaps. As I increase the nozzles, watch here, you got 10N for nozzle, 25 flap. As I increase that, not going to do it, is it? You would typically see the flaps increase there as well. I'm not sure why it's not doing it. Let's turn on the water injection just in case it's related to that, which it shouldn't be. Nope, don't know why that's not doing it. Trust me, normally, particularly if you're doing vertical takeoffs, the flaps will hang on all the way down and give you some help in getting off the ground vertically. Alright, let's turn off water injection for now. Let's go line up. Like I said, I'm not in any way a pro at this. I am having a blast taking my time learning this. There's no rush, right? It's a study aircraft, so take your time and study it. That's part of the fun. There's another aircraft there, see it? I don't know what he's doing, or who he is. Alright, we'll line up. Now, just to go through the takeoff once again, at the nozzle rotation airspeed, which I think is 94 knots, you'll see an indication, basically it'll box the airspeed up here. At that point, I'm going to pull the nozzles all the way back to the stop. We'll check the stop now, 60 degrees, we're all good there, and we will lift off. As soon as we've lifted off, I'm going to pitch up to that 14 degree pitch carrot, pull the gear in, turn the water injection off, and we should be good to go. So that's the theory anyway. Let's see how it works out. Let me get rid of the mouse. I know how frustrating that is to some of you. Here we go. So powering up now. Oh, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. Losing track of what I'm doing. Water injection is on for takeoff. So we're powering up. We're going to go up to 100%. Not over. We could go over. There's no need. There we go. 100% there. Look at the airspeed top left. It's increasing. It's increasing. There's our box. Nozzles back. And we are airborne. Look at that. Now we'll bring the gear up. And as we pitch up, we'll start reducing the nozzle. Like so. And we'll gain forward speed. Nozzles can come all the way up now. Flaps can come up into auto. And water injection can come off. And we are airborne. And we didn't use any water for that. The altitude warning is quite normal. Yeah, gear was up. I shouldn't have done that. Now my gear is down. What a dump. Okay, but we're airborne. And I didn't even pitch up correctly as I should have to the 14 degrees. Now we're in the air. I can show you some of this amazing flight model. Such as you can. That's the wrong switch. I just put out my refueling arm. Go away. It's helpful to remember which buttons you have bound to which controls. Okay, I'm going to trim the aircraft a little bit here. So, check it out. Flaps are in cruise, sorry, auto. They could go up to cruise at this point if we wanted to, but we won't. We'll leave them in auto. Gear is up. Refueling boom is in. Let me pop outside and show you this beastie as we pick up speed about 300 knots there. The unique profile of the AV8B Harrier in flight. Look at that. I think it's a beautiful aircraft. A lot of people don't like it. I think it's amazing. It has a considerable turn of speed, and it is very agile as well. As you can see here, we're currently pulling 4.2 G. Bit of a high speed turn. I don't even have full throttle. Now I do. So full throttle now all the way in. Going low. Heading back towards Nellis Air Force Base. And we're good. So not anything like a Hornet's speed or an F-16 speed or anything like that. Really do think about this as an A10 on steroids. That's a good way of thinking about it. It really is. Why am I getting a master caution warning? What have I forgotten to turn off here? Stop. Stop. Alright, I broke something. Oh. That would be that. Now it should go away. Or not. There it goes. Sorry, had to change the flaps a little bit and make sure the water thing is off and pull that stove stopper all the way back, which I've now done. So yeah, not in any way the same performance as a Harrier, as an F-18 Hornet. Oh, getting a little bit low now. Low altitude warning. Law. Duh. Not anything like an F-16 or an F-18 or anything like that, but more than capable, a lot faster than A-10, but with similar roles, although this can very much act as a fighter, as the Argentinian Air Force will tell you. Too soon? Maybe. Let's see if we can look back over and show you some of the agility of this beast. So picking up a bit more speed now, looping on over now, pulling 5G there as we head over the top. Whoa, got a little bit out of flight parameters there, which is okay. Managed to get that back under control nicely, and we're heading down to the ground. Now, of course, the party trick of this aircraft is its ability to fly low and slow. Slow meaning hovering. Not something you want to do just as a matter of course. It does require quite a lot of fuel to do it. And it's not something you can habitually do if you're carrying a lot of fuel. Like right now, I probably couldn't do it. If I go to the VRES page in a second, I'll be able to tell you whether I'm in any shape right now to do a vertical landing, which I'm probably not. But it's got a lot more to it than that. It really does. It is a great, agile, multi-role aircraft, and the fact that it can operate from land or sea just like the Hornet, can operate from forward operating bases just like a helicopter, can carry a wide array of air-to-ground munitions as well as air-to-air munitions, makes it an incredibly versatile aircraft, which is probably why it's still in use with forces such as the US Marines. And it's maintaining a good rate of speed through that 4G turn, not bleeding very much speed at all, which is a thing of beauty. In terms of roll rate, nothing compared to an F-16, but it's suitable, it's acceptable. Here we go, nose up, get some power in there, here's the roll. Not at all shabby, I think you'll agree. Let's go the other way. So again, not really F-16 or F-18 levels of performance, doesn't really matter, that's not really what it's designed to do. Alright, let me line up properly. In fact, first we'll go down here. It's got a cool autopilot as well, which I'm probably not going to show you today. Going to the VRES page, we're going to vertical landing. We're 23,000, we do actually need to burn some fuel. Let me show you the autopilot then, I guess. Two switches down here, AFC and altitude hold. So what we will do is we will turn altitude hold on, which is not going to go on. AFC is on, altitude hold is not going to go on because I'm climbing. Let me trim this out. To about there. Now AFC, oh, there it goes. Altitude holds on and we're good to go. So that's the autopilot. It's a very, very simple autopilot. It's not route following or anything like that, but it is more than capable. In fact, what you would use that for is loitering. So if I turn the autopilot off here and turn off AFC and altitude hold, what we would typically do in a combat mission is put this in a bank somewhat near the target and then go trim it. So we're neither climbing or descending as much as we possibly can. Alright, autopilot on. Altitude hold on. Now we are in a loiter setup. Let me go to the external view and you can see that. Maintaining altitude hold, constant rate of bank, just loitering around in a target area waiting for a target of opportunity to pop up. Pretty much the same thing that you would do in an A10 while waiting for tasking. Hence my comparison between this and the A10. Calling this an A10 on steroids. How are we doing on that fuel? 23,000. We need to burn some fuel, so let's go back to the airport and put on a bit of a show. So autopilot can come off. Like so. Where is the airport? I've got completely turned around. Now obviously being a study level aircraft, it does do full cold and dark and shutdowns and all that stuff. It does have correct handling of all the emergency conditions that you would expect. In fact, if we get some altitude here, we can probably burn some fuel and get a better view where we are. It's a complex beastie. The only downsides, as I've said, it doesn't have a campaign currently. You really are buying into an early access if you go and get this, and also the manual is a little bit lacking. I actually had to go and do some Googling and find a handy official manual for the non-top secret versions of this aircraft and learn a lot of stuff from that, which again I guess was part of the fun. There's an airport down there. Not so sure that's Nellis. In fact, I'm fairly sure it's not. Fairly sure it's not. Where's Nellis gone? Beautiful scenery. Ah, there it is. Directly underneath us. Who knew? Or is that Las Vegas? That's Las Vegas! Whoops. Don't go landing one of these there. They get all concerned when you do that. I'll find it. This does have a full navigation suite in. I just don't know how to use it. There's Nellis directly ahead of us. So we took off from runway 03. I'm just leaving this at full throttle right now just to burn some fuel. And then I will try badly to show you the pattern. The traditional combat pattern for landing this aircraft. So let's just loop around a little bit. And then we'll get in the correct attitude to do that. Does have a full complement of weapons. They do all currently work right now. We have seen some stuff coming up that's not currently in here right now. So if I go to menu down here and go to CAS, we have close air support tasking down here, which is not currently working. That's basically taking out a 9-line from the AWACS, feeding it in, and then using that to get on target, which is kind of cool. That's not currently functional, I think. How am I on that fuel? It's coming down. Let's bring up the VRES page once again. £22,000. 2,000 to go. We should be able to do it. Alright, let's get positioned to do the traditional carrier pattern style. Also known as a run-in and brake. Which I'm not very good at, by the way. It's even harder to do in this than it is a Hornet because of that hover thing at the end, which we are going to do if I can get under fuel. In fact, what I could do is jettison the fuel. I'm not really paying any attention here, am I? What I can do is put this up to about 3,000 pounds of fuel. Let's go ahead and do that. In total. There, and then we'll activate jettison here. And that will start dumping fuel. Completely forgot about that. Alright, let's turn back towards Nellis. We want to be about 1,000 feet, 350 knots. I will put this in vertical takeoff and landing mode right now. Bringing in the power a little bit. There's our 360. We should be dropping fuel. We are. So we should be good to go. Alright, so flaps can go now into the cruise mode, sorry, auto mode from cruise. Yeah, fuel's bleeding out very nicely. Currently dumping fuel on all these houses down here, not ideal. But, oh well. Right, we're 3,000 feet up, or are we? We don't actually know. Let's put into radar altimeter. It feels like we're 1,000. Yeah, we are. 1,200 feet up. And we'll get that speed back up to 350. There we go, 350, about 1,200. Trying to get this somewhat level. We are descending, but that's fine. This is going to even out any second. So both runways looking clear. There's our 350, and at the end of the runway, what we will do is we'll go brakes full out. We will put a 3G turn to the left and feed back in the power. We don't want to bleed too much power here. Coming all the way around to about there. Speed has dropped now, which is great, so gear can go down. Flaps are going to go all the way down into landing mode. Water injection now can go down into landing mode. Speed is coming down nicely, and we'll start to bring in the nozzles now. As we pass the end of the runway here, we'll bring the nozzles out to 40 degrees. You'll see the speed will dramatically fall off now, trimming the aircraft as well. And we're going to take 3 right. Bingo fuel, which is what we wanted because we were in dump, so the dump switches should have deactivated, which they have. And we'll turn around back onto runway 03 right. Whoa, watch that roll there, Pete. A lot more power. We were sinking quite a lot, a little bit under where I wanted to be. And as we roll out onto our heading now, we'll bring the nozzles back to 60 degrees. Adjust the throttle. You see we started to climb as the nozzles were pointing back now. We'll just adjust our angle of attack with the nozzles. Sorry, with the power and the nozzles. There we go. Getting all lined up now. Gear is down, flaps are down, speed brakes out. Back down to 82 degrees now for a vertical landing. Put the flight path vector on the end of the runway. And you can see we are pretty much just sitting on a needle of air. I'm going to bring the nose down so we get some forward speed out of this. How amazing is that? Let me see if I can just pop outside real quick. There you go. Pretty cool, huh? Let's feed in the power, because we did slow a little bit too much. And we'll go nose down just to pick up some speed here at about 300 feet off the ground. You can imagine now we're trying to line ourselves up on the carrier. We do have water injection on, so we can go over the normal operating limits of the engine for short periods of time if we wish to. Just holding at about 300 feet, 260 feet here. Gaining on the aircraft carrier, and now as we come up on it, we'll start to bring the nose up. Lower the power. Descending now 250 feet per minute. The nose can come up again as we start to slow down even more. A little bit more power, a little bit more power. There we go. And you can see there's our 30 knots that we would normally have approaching a carrier. We will need to bleed a little bit more of that, which is just fine. Nose up. You can see the speed's coming down nicely. See if we can get the center line. Speed is still coming down nicely. Let's try to get even less speed. We want 82 degrees, so just pull the nozzles back a little bit more. There we go. 18 knots now. Not going to hit the center line, but that's okay, because like a helicopter we can drift if we need to, like so. And touchdown. That, ladies and gentlemen, is a vertical landing in a Harrier. So 10 degrees now on the nozzles. Bring the flaps up. Might as well put this into nose wheel steering high if I can remember where the switch is. There. And I'll show you the turn rate on a carrier. So with nose wheel steering high, full left rudder, bringing up the power now, you can see it will pretty much turn on its own length. Amazing rate of turn. Obviously, for maneuvering around the confined deck of an aircraft carrier. So that is my quick first impressions of what is now my all-time favorite DCS aircraft, the Razbam AV8B NA. Get it. If you get a chance, you know, DCS and Ego Dynamics do hold quite a few sales. Keep an eye out for them. When this goes on sale, go get it, or just go get it at full price. It is well worth the money, even though it's early access. There's still stuff that needs to be finished on it. It's nowhere near as early access as the current F-16, which is awesome and sublime, by the way. Video coming soon, but it has a lot more things missing than this does. And this is just such good fun once you figure out how to do what I just did, like a vertical landing or a vertical takeoff. It is such a blast to fly. It really is. Absolutely love, love, love this aircraft. Don't know why I can't turn off my master cautions right now though. That's a little frustrating. Stop. Anyway, as always, my name is Frugal. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, I will see you all very soon.